Okay. Oh, I see you just joined. Okay, let me say it again. Let me say again what the plan is. So, for the rest of the year, I just want to be looking at, I'll be taking one story and then we go through a story. I'll just choose different stories. So today, I really wanted for us to listen to a story that is found in the book of Judges. Judges. I believe it's Judges chapter 19. Okay. Now, let me make sure. Let me make sure. Bible, that one, NIV, yes. And then, okay, so, all right. So, Judges chapter 19. Yes, it is. So it goes. In those days, Israel had no king. Now, a Levite who had lived in a remote area in the hill country of Ephraim took a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah. You see, so a Levite, Levites were priests, and the Levite took a concubine, took for himself a woman to live with. Okay. So this Levite took a concubine from Bethlehem in Judah, but she was unfaithful to him. So this woman went with other men. Okay. She left him and went back to her parents' home in Bethlehem, Judah. Okay. After she had been there 4 months, her husband went to her to persuade her to return. So this woman went with other people, went back home, but the man still loved this woman and went, persuaded her to come back. He had with him his servant and 2 donkeys. So this priest has a servant, 2 donkeys, and they go to get his concubine back, wife back. She took him into her parents' home, and when her father saw him, he gladly welcomed him. His father-in-law, the woman's father, prevailed on him to stay. So he remained with him 3 days, eating and drinking and sleeping there. So this man has gone back to so the woman has been unfaithful to the husband, and then after that she goes back to their hometown. When she stays there about 4 months, the husband goes with a servant and 2 donkeys, and they go to the woman's home, Bethlehem in Judah. The man wants the wife back. So when they get there, the wife welcomes the husband to their home, and the wife's dad pleads with the husband that he may stay. He should not go back with the wife immediately. Let them stay for a little bit. So for 3 days, every day, eating, drinking, sleeping. I think this is a very good story for right now. You know, we're still we're still celebrating Christmas. So it's kind of it was a time like this when people are celebrating, you know. Okay. So verse 4. So his father-in-law, the woman's father, prevailed on him to stay. So he remained with him 3 days, eating, drinking, and sleeping there. On the fourth day, they got up early and he prepared to leave. But the woman's father said to his son-in-law, refresh yourself with something to eat. Then you can go. So the two of them sat down to eat and drink together. Afterward, the woman's father said, please stay tonight and enjoy yourself. Doesn't that sound like some of us? When you have a visitor, I bet even right now, there's people you don't want to leave you. They came for Christmas. Now it's time for them to go. You don't want them to go. You don't extend your stay. Just change the ticket. Cancel that ticket. Pay the fine. I'll help you pay the fine. I bet that's what is happening around the world right now. People don't want others to leave. So, two of them sat down to eat and drink together. Afterward, the woman's father said, please stay tonight and enjoy yourself. And when the man got up to go, his father-in-law persuaded him. So he stayed there that night. This father-in-law has a very sweet tongue. On the morning of the fifth day, when he rose to go, the woman's father said, refresh yourself. Wait till afternoon. So the two of them ate together. Hey! Eh? Verse 9. When the man with his concubine and his servant got up to leave, his father-in-law, the woman's father, said, now look, it's almost evening. Spend the night here. The day is nearly over. Stay and enjoy yourself. Early tomorrow morning, you can get up and be on your way home. But unwilling to stay another night, the man left and went toward Jebush, that is Jerusalem, with his two saddled donkeys and his concubine. Now, you see what has happened. The guy had planned to leave in the morning. In fact, let's not even start there. Let's start with the guy had planned to leave 5 days before. The guy spoke to him, the father-in-law spoke to him. He stayed 3 days. The following day, when the guy is getting ready, refresh yourself, eat and drink. So they did. In the evening, the father-in-law is like, it's too late. Sleep tomorrow. You'll go. They sleep. The following day, he gets up to go. Refresh yourself, eat and drink. They do. And then evening, look, it's late. Sleep. He slept. And again, another day, refresh yourself, go in the afternoon. When afternoon came, so the guy would have left in the morning. But when afternoon came, because the father-in-law says, leave in the afternoon. When afternoon came, he says, no, relax, it's already late. That man that day was like, no, today I have to leave. So you see, the time they left was already late in the day. Okay. So it was because of the father-in-law that they ended up leaving a little late. So, verse 10, but unwilling to stay another night, the man left and went towards Jebush, that is Jerusalem, with two saddled donkeys and his concubine. When they were near Jebush and the day was almost gone, the servant said to his master, come, let's stop at this city of the Jebusites and spend the night. His master replied, no, we won't go into any city whose people are not Israelites. We will go on to Gibeah. He added, come, let's try to reach Gibeah or Ramah and spend the night in one of those places. So you see, this man, the servant, wants them to stay in Jebush. And Jebush was a city of the Jebusites. The Jebusites were not Israelites. And remember, this Levite, when this story we started, remember we said a Levite took a concubine for himself. The Levites were Israelites. They were the priests of Israel. So the priest wanted them to, if they were to spend a night, to spend the night amongst Israelites. So he's pushing for them to get to Gibeah or Ramah. Okay. And spend the night in one of those places. So they went on, and the sun set as they neared Gibeah in Benjamin. Benjamin was the last son. Out of the 12 sons of Jacob, he was the last one. So out of the sons of Israel. So Benjamin was an Israelite. So Gibeah is of Israel. So verse 14. So they went on, and the sun set as they neared Gibeah in Benjamin. There they stopped to spend the night. They went and sat in the city square, but no one took them in for the night. So imagine coming into a town, and when you go to that town, you go like to the downtown area, the city square. So you go, say, in the middle of that city. So you just go and sit there and hoping that somebody will come and house you, give you accommodation for the night. That was a common thing. I mean, I believe if somebody went to the city center of where you live right now, people will just pass the person. But the custom of the Israelites, if you see a stranger, and I'm saying it's the custom because you'll see these stories. You remember in the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, when the two angels went, they went to the city square. And then Lot saw them and told them to welcome them in. So I am saying, I believe it's a custom because I'm seeing the same thing happening here. You see, so when they went and sat in the city square, no one took them in for the night. Verse 16. That evening, an old man from the hill country of Ephraim, who was living in Gibeah. The inhabitants of that place were Benjamites. But the inhabitants of that place were Benjamites. But this old man was from the hill country of Ephraim. Now, Ephraim, I believe a time will come when we shall take time to understand the tribes of Israel. Ephraim and Manasseh were not amongst the 12 sons of Jacob. But they were included later. Because who were they? They were the sons of Joseph, Ephraim and Manasseh. But the strange thing is, even after they were included in the 12 tribes of Israel, we don't say the 14 tribes of Israel. So that might be a mystery to somebody. We shall come to understand why we still call them the 12 tribes. But I'll tell you one thing. The Levites were never counted because they were the priests. So out of the 12, you see, you don't count Levites, the tribe of Levi. You don't count them because they are the priests. And then remember, I just mentioned that Ephraim and Manasseh were the sons of Joseph. So Joseph, as the son of Jacob, is not counted amongst the 12. Instead, his two sons are counted. I don't know, that sounds like a very difficult math. But if you look at it, you end up again with 12 tribes. Because you're not counting the tribe of Levi, and you're not counting Joseph as a tribe. Instead, you're counting his two sons. So one of the sons replaced Levi, and the other son replaced Joseph. Okay. So, verse 16. That evening, an old man from the hill country of Ephraim, who was living in Gibeah, the inhabitants of that place were Benjamites, came in from his work in the fields. When he looked and saw the traveler in the city square, the old man asked, where are you going? Where did you come from? He answered, we are on our way from Bethlehem in Judah to a remote area in the hill country of Ephraim, where I live. I have been there to Bethlehem. I have been to Bethlehem in Judah, and now I am going to the house of the Lord. No one has taken me in for the night. We have both straw and fodder for our donkeys, and bread and wine for ourselves, your servants. Me, the woman, and the young man with us. We don't need anything. So you see, so the old man comes from the fields. He finds them sitting. He finds the traveler, the Levite, his servant, and the wife sitting with the two donkeys. The old man asks them where they are coming from, where they are going to, and he explains to them. We came from Bethlehem. We are going to they are going to Ephraim. We are coming from Bethlehem, going to Ephraim. We have everything. We have food for the donkeys. We have food and wine, bread and wine for ourselves. We don't need anything. We don't need anything. We are good. Okay. You are welcome at my house. Verse 20. You are welcome at my house. The old man said, let me supply whatever you need. Only don't spend the night in the square. so this man pleads with him, please, come to my place. So he took him into his house and fed his donkeys. After he had washed their feet, they had something to eat and drink. Verse 22, while they were enjoying themselves, some of the wicked men of the city surrounded the house. Pounding on the door, they shouted to the old man who owned the house, bring out the man who came to your house so we can have sex with him. The owner of the house went outside and said to them, no, my friends, don't be so vile. Since this man is my guest, don't do this outrageous thing. Look, there is my virgin daughter and his concubine. I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them to do to them whatever you wish. Now, let me ask you, do you see how similar this story is like the story in Sodom and Gomorrah? If you've never read or heard the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, you know what? Because we have the time and we can do it, let's do this. Let us go to, I'll leave it at verse 34. We'll come back here. We'll come back here. Okay, so it is Genesis chapter 19. Genesis chapter 19. Okay, listen to what this says. Okay. I tell you, Genesis chapter 19. Let me rush quickly through this story because, okay, listen to Genesis chapter 19. Let me start from verse 1, and I'll try to run real quick. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. My lords, he said, please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night and then go on your way early in the morning. No, they answered, we will spend the night in the square. Remember in that story, we are reading the Levite, the wife, and the servant and the two donkeys are at the square. That's why I said it feels like this was a tradition in those days. Whenever an Israelite, because remember, Lot is also an Israelite. So when he sees these people, he bows down to them. Now, see, we know they are angels. Lot has no clue. He just sees people. He sees them as two people. He says, my lords. Okay. So they said, we shall stay in the square. So remember, even in that city, when they get to Benjamin, they were at the square. These two angels, they come to Sodom and Gomorrah. They say, we will stay at the square. Okay. So no, they answered, we will spend the night in the square. But he insisted so strongly, verse 3, but he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, let me say again, before they had gone to bed, all the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house. They called to Lot, where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them. Can you imagine? You know, it is shocking how similar these two stories are. It is shocking. But verse 6, Lot went outside exactly like what the old man did. Look at these stories. You might say it's the same story. They are different. Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, no, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have two daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them to you and you can do what you like with them. Do you see the similarity? That old man said, I have a daughter, and the priest's wife, two women. Let me bring them out. Okay. And you can do what you like with them, but don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof. Yeah, verse 9, get out of our way, they replied. This fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them. Because remember, Lot was not an inhabitant originally. He came from outside and came to dwell with them. So they're telling him, you foreigner, get out of our way, or we will do worse to you. So they say, this fellow came here as a foreigner, and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them. They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. Verse 10, but the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. So you see, it's calling these two angels the men. It says, but the men inside. So they pull Lot inside the house and they shut the door And then look at what they do. Verse 11. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness, so that they could not find the door. As may God strike with blindness any forces of darkness that are trying to locate you in the name of Jesus. Any demons, any forces of darkness that are trying to locate you, may they be struck with blindness. They will never see you. In Jesus' name. The two men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here? Look, see now it's calling these angels men. The two men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here? Sons-in-law or daughters or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. These people didn't know who they were messing with. The last of their flesh brought their demise. Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, hurry and get out of this place, because the Lord is about to destroy the city. But his sons-in-law thought he was joking. Imagine that. Imagine you have been brought the message to save you, to save your life. And the person who is talking to you about you being saved, you think he's joking. When the coming of the dawn, with the coming of the dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, hurry, take your wife and your two daughters who are here, or you will be swept away with the city when the city is punished. When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand and the hands of his wife and of his two daughters and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. Okay, so I want to leave this here. I want us to leave this here, because I just wanted you to see the similarities in these two stories. Okay, so in this case, the angels pulled the people in, pulled Lot in, and struck the people with blindness. And then they told Lot, go get whoever belongs to you. Let me ask you, when did Lot leave? So he probably even opened the door while those people are still looking for the door to go talk to the sons-in-law. In fact, the sons-in-law might have been amongst those people who are trying to look for that door. That is the crazy thing, come to think of it, because it said all men, young to old. They were probably amongst those people looking for the door. Yeah. All right. Let us go back to the story in Judges. Okay. Judges chapter 19. Okay, so it says, okay, so verse 23. The owner of the house went outside. You see, exactly like Jonah. Jonah went outside and said to them, no, my friends, don't be so vile. Since this man is my guest, don't do this outrageous thing. Look, there is my virgin daughter and his concubine, I will bring them out to you now, and you can use them and do to them whatever you wish. But as for this man, don't do such an outrageous thing. But the men would not listen to him. You see, exactly the same thing as in Sodom. So the man took his concubine and sent her outside to them. So remember, the man was inside the house. He took his concubine and pushed her outside to go to them. And you know, already people look at that and they're like, that is very unfair. But anyway, let's just read the story first. But the men would not listen to him. So the man took his concubine and sent her outside to them, and they raped her and abused her throughout the night, and at dawn they let her go. At daybreak, the woman went back to the house where her master was staying, fell down at the door, and lay there until daylight. When her master got up in the morning and opened the door of the house and stepped out to continue on his way, there lay his concubine. You know, as we are reading this, I'm noticing it's not calling the woman his wife. You know, let me do this. Let me compare because I think, okay, so NIV, concubine, King James, and her Lord. And you see that I'm seeing something very strange. It is calling this man her Lord. Normally a concubine is not the wife that you've given bride price for. A concubine is a woman on the side. Like, normally you've not given a bride price. I think there's something that is coming out of this reading that we are reading. So you see, in King James it says, and her Lord. It doesn't say her husband. And her Lord rose up in the morning and opened the doors of the house and went out to go his way. And behold, the woman, his concubine. See, it's calling her concubine. And the woman, his concubine, was fallen down at the door of the house, and her hands were upon the threshold. So, Christian Standard Bible, when her master, you see that again? He's not calling her the husband. I think this is okay, interesting. So got up in the morning, opened the doors of the house, and went out to live on his journey. There was the woman, his concubine. English Standard Version, concubine. New King James Version, concubine. New Living Translation, there lay his concubine. Okay, so I think now, okay, all right, okay, good to know. So let's go back and continue. So verse 27, when her master got up in the morning and opened the door of the house and stepped out to continue on his way, there lay his concubine, fallen on the doorway of the house with her hands on the threshold. He said to her, get up, let's go. But there was no answer. Then the man put her on his donkey and set out for home. When he reached home, he took a knife. I'm telling you, we are about to hear some things that you people will even be wondering, is this in the Bible? Yes. Listen to what happens. When he reached home, he took a knife and cut up his concubine, limb by limb, into 12 parts, and sent them into all the areas of Israel. Now, when I read this story years ago, and I saw 12 parts, I counted. So count with me. I want to show you. I was shocked that I counted the first time and I got it. So count with me. Put your hand on your neck. That is part number 1. Aside. Put your hand on your wrist, where your palm connects to your hand. Part number 2. Put your hand on your elbow. Part number 3. Put your hand on your shoulder, where your hand meets your shoulder. Number 4. Put your hand on the other side, on where it meets your palm. So what are we? 1, 2, 3, 4. So part number 5 on the other side, the other arm. On the elbow, 6. Where it meets the shoulder, 7. Waist, 8. Knee, 9. The other knee, 10. At the foot, 11. And the other foot, 12. 12 parts. I tell you, I was reading this story. I said, hey, hold on. Eh? And he says, limb by limb, into 12 parts, and sent them into all the areas of Israel. Everyone who saw it was saying to one another, such a thing has never been seen or done, not since the day Israelites came up out of Egypt. Just imagine. We must do something. So speak up. Serious. Now, okay. I am from the counting. Oh, so you couldn't hear me from counting. Wow. Okay, so when was the last you heard? When was the last? So I'm getting a message that you couldn't hear. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
But okay, so did you hear me counting the parts?
Yes. I think to the waist, and then after the waist, there, around there.
Anymore?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay, so let's go again. Let's start again then. So count the first part, the neck. Put your hand on the neck. That's the first part, okay? and then on your wrist, and then on your elbow, and on your shoulder. So the neck is 1, the wrist is 2, elbow 3, shoulder 4. On the other side, the other hand, the wrist 5, elbow 6, shoulder 7, waist 8, at the knee 9, the other knee 10, the foot 11, and the other foot 12. So those are 12 parts. Because, like I said, the Bible says he cut her limb by limb. Limb by limb. So, since you couldn't hear me, let me read that last part of chapter 19. I don't know whether we'll have to edit it. Maybe I wasn't paying attention. It probably was a phone call coming in. Sometimes that's what will happen when somebody is calling and I'm just talking, not paying attention. Okay, so it says, so when he reached home, he took a knife and cut up his concubine limb by limb into 12 parts and sent them into all the areas of Israel. So he sent them into all the, so he put these parts, body parts, and sent them. It's like he was walking them around the parts of Israel for people to see. That is very horrific. That is watching a horror. Okay, so verse 30. Everyone who saw it was saying to one another, such a thing has never been seen or done, not since the day the Israelites came up out of Egypt. Just imagine. We must do something. So speak up. No? Hello? Check. 1, 2.
You had muted
Can you hear
yourself.
me? Huh?
Ulikuwa umejimute.
Oh, really? I had muted myself.
Yeah, I don't think it's a
let me do
network.
this.
This it shows the microphone.
Or maybe I'm so engaged in this thing, I'm not even touching the mute button. Because if it's showing that it was muted, I probably was. There's probably a phone call. Okay, let's try this again. Let us try it again. What was the last thing you heard? What was the last thing that you heard?
Imagine such a thing.
Somebody
Imagine such a thing.
Huh?
Imagine such a thing. Imagine such a thing.
Hold on. So,
Yes.
okay. So let me ask, did everyone at least get to follow with me counting the body parts? That one was clear.
Yes.
Was that clear?
Yes. Yes.
That one was clear. Okay. So we counted the body parts, and so the thing that, yeah, it's okay. So, okay. So listen. So he cut the concubine into 12 body parts, and we've counted them. No, that's cold. Come this way. So we counted the body parts. And then listen, he takes these body parts around the towns in Israel and shows them. Okay, I saw the culprit. I saw the culprit. I saw I saw what was happening. There's somebody calling me, and you know, so I think I need to preach while I'm facing the phone. That was the problem. There's a person who keeps calling. So let me pay attention now to the phone. Okay, so he cuts the lady, the concubine, into 12 parts and sends that lady, the body, to all parts of Israel. And people see it and they are in shock. Okay. So now let us go to chapter 20. Man, this guy has made me now to be looking at my phone and focusing. You know, sometimes when I'm talking, I'm facing aside. So, okay, here we go. Then all Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, and from the land of Gilead, came together as one and assembled before the Lord in Mizpah. And leaders of all the people of the tribes of Israel took their places in the assembly of God's people. 400,000 men armed with swords. Can you imagine that? Because people are like, what? Through some terrorist thing has happened. Why would somebody cut another person into pieces like that? So 400,000 men have come with swords because they want to come and see what is the problem. Let's deal with it. Verse 3, the Benjamites heard that the Israelites had gone up to Mizpah. Then the Israelites said, tell us how this awful thing happened. Because remember, this thing happened in the land of Benjamin, where the Benjamites are. So the people who came to try to do, the people who did this thing are Benjamites. The youngest child of Jacob. Verse 4. So the Levite, the husband of the murdered woman, said, I and my concubine came to Gibeah in Benjamin to spend the night. During the night, the men of Gibeah came after me and surrounded the house, intending to kill me. They raped my concubine and she died. I took my concubine, cut her into pieces, and sent one piece to each region of Israel's inheritance. So that one even. So you see, he sent a part to each tribe. One tribe, a hand. Another tribe, a foot. Another tribe, the torso. The torso. Another tribe, the head. Another tribe, you see that? So each tribe had a piece. I took my concubine, cut her into pieces, and sent one piece to each region of Israel's inheritance, because they committed this lewd and outrageous act in Israel. Now, all you Israelites, speak up and tell me what you have decided to do. This man is bitter because of what the Benjamites have done to him. And because of that, he cut the concubine, sent a piece to each one of them. When they came gathered with their swords, he tells them what happened, and he says, you tell me what you've decided. I've told you what happened to me. All the men, verse 8, all the men rose up together as one, saying, none of us will go home. No, not one of us will return to his house. But now, this is what we'll do to Gibeah. We'll go up against it in order to decide by casting lots. will take 10 men out of every 100 from all the tribes of Israel, and 100 from 1,000, and 1,000 from 10,000, to get provisions for the army. Then, when the army arrives at Gibeah in Benjamin, it can give them what they deserve for this outrageous act done in Israel. Now, that right there is a very powerful strategy. If I was to advise a military, even one right now, if I was to advise them, this is a strategy that is very powerful. They say, we'll take 10 men out of 100, 100 men out of 1,000. So it's a tenth. So that tenth are the people who will go fetching food, water, provisions for what this army deserves. So if it's 10 people will take care of 100. 100 people will take care of 1,000. So you get it. So, and then the army is going to punish this Benjamites for that thing, for this thing that they did. Okay. Verse 11. So all the Israelites got together and united as one against the city. Verse 12. The tribes of Israel sent messengers throughout the tribe of Benjamin, saying, what about this awful crime that was committed among you? Now, turn those wicked men of Gibeah over to us so that we may put them to death and purge the evil from Israel. Now, I want you to understand that these are brothers talking to their brothers. The Israelites are talking to the Benjamites, and these people are brothers. The majority of brothers are telling the minority to bring out those few people who did this lewd act so that they may be killed. But we continue. But the Benjamites would not listen to their fellow Israelites. Verse 14. From their towns, they came together at Gibeah to fight against the Israelites. Can you imagine that? They would rather keep those evil people protected and fight for them, to defend them, instead of giving those few evil people away to their brothers to be killed. They say, we'll fight. Verse 15. At once, the Benjamites mobilized 26,000 swordsmen from their towns, in addition to 700 able young men from those living in Gibeah. Now, I want us to do the math. The Israelites have 400,000 soldiers. The Benjamites have 26,000. The Israelites have 400,000. The Benjamites, 26. And then it says, with those 26, there's another set of 700. I want you to hear what these 700 people of the tribe of Benjamin, I want you to hear what the Bible says about them. Remember when we started, I told you, I want for the rest of the year, I just want us to go through some stories in the Bible. And this story, for a reason, used to fascinate me. Every time I read it, I don't know. I think with time, I kept on reading it, and I'll share with you some of what I derived from this story. In addition to 700 able young men from those living in Gibeah, among, verse 16, among all those soldiers, there were 700 select troops who were left-handed. All the people who are left-handed say, hey. Listen, among all these soldiers, there were 700 select troops who were left-handed, each of whom could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. Now, I want you to imagine you're holding a hair string in your hands. So you pull it up with your right hand and you pull it down with your left hand, and you're holding it out. And then you have somebody stand at a very far distance. And then you tell the person to use a sling to hit that hair. They would never miss. Those people were snipers. Snipers. When you hold a string of hair, you probably even won't see that string. They'll just see the way you're holding that hair. And they'll know that string is in the middle of that hand. Because you'll be listen, among all these soldiers, there were 700 select troops who were left-handed, each of whom could sling a stone at a hair and not miss. Meaning they were sharpshooters. They see a string of hair, they'll throw a stone, they'll never miss it. Sharpshooters. Those 700 are with the Benjamites. Verse 17. Israel, apart from Benjamin, mustered 400,000 swordsmen, all of them fit for battle. The Israelites went up to Bethel and inquired of God. They said, who of us is to go up first to fight against the Benjamites? Now, I want you to see this. Israel has 400,000 soldiers. Israel is praying to God. Okay, who do we, because Israel even knows that God is not happy because of what Benjamin has done. So they ask God, who should go first and attack of our tribes? We want you to tell us. And then look, the Lord replied. So God answers them. Judah shall go first. The next morning, the Israelites got up and pitched camp near Gibeah. The Israelites went out to fight the Benjamites and took up battle positions against them at Gibeah. The Benjamites came out of Gibeah and cut down 22,000 Israelites in the battlefield that day. I want to repeat that again. I want somebody to hear and do the math. Let's first start again. Israel has 400,000 soldiers. Benjamin has 26,000 and the 700 special unit. And go ahead and we'll come back later. So Israel has the 400,000. Benjamin has 26,000 plus the 700 special unit. Israel prays to God. Who should go first? God says, God, this is God. He answers them. Judah should go. when they go out the first day, Benjamin kills 22,000 soldiers. Benjamin killed an army almost their size. Benjamin is outnumbered by far. You can't even compare. Yet they killed a lot of Israelites. And they are on the wrong. Verse 20. The Israelites went out to fight the Benjamites and took up battle positions against them at Gibeah. The Benjamites came out of Gibeah and cut down 22,000 Israelites on the battlefield that day. But the Israelites encouraged one another and again took up their positions where they had stationed themselves the first day. The Israelites went up and wept before the Lord until evening, and they inquired of the Lord. They said, shall we go up again to fight against the Benjamites, our fellow Israelites? Did you hear the prayer changed now? The prayer they had day one was, who should go out first? And God answered them. Judah should go out first. And then they go out and they are killed. And they weep. They encourage each other. It's okay, brother. It's okay, yeah, it's fine. Yeah, no, God is with us. God is. They go back to God. This time, listen to their prayer. They don't ask who should go out first. No, they wept. The Israelites wept until went and wept before the Lord until evening, and they inquired of the Lord. They said, shall we go up again and fight against the Benjamites, our fellow Israelites? They've been affected the way now they are going out because of the casualties, the fatalities, the deaths. There's times when you are going through something, you're praying to God, and it feels like you are not getting the answer you are looking for. And then you start to shy away from that prayer. Some people start getting bitter because it then seems like God is not with you. You even wonder if God is listening. Okay. The Lord answered, go up against them. God answered them again. Go. Verse 24. Then the Israelites drew near to Benjamin the second day. This time, when the Benjamites came out of Gibeah to oppose them, they cut down another 18,000 Israelites. Hey. And it is God telling you, go. And another 8 fall. All of them armed with swords. Verse 26. Then all the Israelites, the whole army, went up to Bethel, and there they sat weeping before the Lord. You see how this thing is becoming is becoming very heavy. They fasted that day until evening and presented burnt offerings and fellowship offerings to the Lord. Can you imagine? First day, Who should go out first? Judah. Hey, yeah, go. Aye. Second day, God, should we go and fight against them? Yes, go. They go. Get killed again. Now they weep. Now they offer offerings to God. And the Israelites inquired of the Lord. Verse 27. In those days, the ark of the covenant of God was there. And Phinehas, son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, ministering before it. They asked, shall we go up to fight against the Benjamites, our fellow Israelites, or not? You see, the first time that was, the second time they didn't add or not. It's like now they're thinking, hey, maybe this thing, maybe we have done a mistake. Maybe we were not supposed to touch these people. The battle is every time they go for battle, this small army is dealing them such a blow that it's almost like they're getting to a point where they're thinking maybe they were not supposed to go in the first place. But can you imagine that? They don't go to purge this evil. They don't go to deal with this evil. Then what will happen? Shall we go or not? The Lord responded, go, for tomorrow I will give them into your hands. You see, sometimes when we pray to God, and according to the way we are looking at time, we feel like, God is delaying. Some people find themselves doing things they were never supposed to. You got impatient, you felt like you've waited enough for the job, you've been praying to God, and then somebody ends up doing some very crazy things. I don't even want to try to mention some of the things that people do whenever they feel like God has delayed in answering them. Remember when we were reading in the Bible, when Jesus was talking to his disciples and he said, when we read the parable of the judge who did not fear God or man. And it says, Jesus told the parable in order to show people, to encourage people not to give up in praying, not to give up prayer, not to get weary of prayer. These Israelites, you can already feel like they are getting weary of the battle. You can already tell they are starting to doubt whether they were even supposed to be in this fight in the first place. And you can even say they probably have a good enough reason to feel that way. Because, I mean, they've lost a bigger, the Benjamites are 26,000. They have lost more than 30-something thousand men. They've lost a larger army than the Benjamite army. And the Bible doesn't even tell us how many of the Benjamites died. They probably didn't even die. The Lord responded, go, for tomorrow I will give them into your hands. Then Israel set an ambush around Gibeah. They went up against the Benjamites on the third day and took up positions against Gibeah, and as they had done before. The Benjamites came out to meet them and were drawn away from the city. They began to inflict casualties on the Israelites as before, so that about 30 men fell in the open field and on the roads. The one leading to Bethel and the other to Gibeah. While the Benjamites were saying, we are defeating them as before, the Israelites were saying, let's retreat and draw them away from the city to the roads. I'm telling you, that is what is happening to the kingdom of the enemy concerning your life. As the kingdom is saying, let us oppress them, let us do to them as we are done before. What you are saying is, my help is with me. 2024 is a different year for you. In Jesus' name. That thing that had oppressed you, that had taken your joy, that was fighting you, say bye-bye to it in the name of Jesus. While the Benjamites were saying, we are defeating them as before, the Israelites were saying, let's retreat and draw them away from the city to the roads. Have something to say. God is giving you things to say. You will have things to say. Let me tell you one thing you should say. I praise you, Father, in the name of Jesus. Say it constantly, say it regularly, say it all the time. Verse 33. All the men of Israel moved from their places and took up positions at Baal Tamar. And the Israelite ambush charged out of its place on the west of Gibeah. Then 10,000 of Israel's able young men came for a frontal attack in Gibeah. The fighting was so heavy that Benjamites did not realize how near disaster was. You know, these Benjamites have that pride. Oh, we are good. We killed you already the last 2 days, and we are going to finish you. You know, we're going to do the same blow again. They didn't realize, first of all, they had been pulled away of their city. They were pulled away because what the Israelites did, the frontal attack, they came like they were attacking them, and then the Benjamites came out to follow them. So while they are following them, and as they are saying, we are defeating them as we did, because already they killed 30 people as they're going, running, killing. As they're saying, we are killing them. Meanwhile, the Israelites keep saying, let's keep pulling them out. As they're pulling them away from the city, another group is going from behind. So the Benjamites are fighting, facing these people, not knowing that behind them, disaster is coming. Then 10,000 of Israel's able young men made a frontal attack. So they are attacking from in front in Gibeah. The fighting was heavy that the Benjamites did not realize. Because remember, they are fighting facing the front. They are not facing they don't know what is behind them. The Lord, disaster was near. Verse 35, the Lord defeated Benjamin before Israel. And on that day, the Israelites struck down 25,100. Now do the math. There were 26,700. And now 25,100 have died. So in other words, the Benjamites, the only ones left are 1,600. Verse 36. Then the Benjamites that they were beaten. The men of Israel had given way before Benjamin. Now, the men of Israel had given way before Benjamin because they riled on the ambush they had set near Gibeah. Those who had been in the ambush made a sudden dash into Gibeah, spread out and put the whole city to the sword. Man, can you imagine? You are such a big army. You are 26,000 strong, 26,700. And you are killed and left 1,600 men. The Israelites had arranged with the ambush that they should send up a great cloud of smoke from the city, and then the Israelites would counterattack. The Benjamites had begun to inflict casualties in the Israelites, about 30, and they said, "We are defeating them as in the first battle." But when the column of smoke began to rise from the city, the Benjamites turned and saw the whole city going up in smoke. So remember, they were pulled away from their city. Another group of Israelites went up there, and they had said, whenever they are down there is when we'll set up this smoke. So it's when the smoke was coming up that they turned and saw their city was burning. Then the Israelites counterattacked, and the Benjamites were terrified. Because they realized that disaster had come on them. So they fled before the Israelites in the direction of the wilderness, but they could not escape the battle. And the Israelites who came out of the towns cut them down there. They still kept killing them. You know, if the Benjamites had given those 50, 100 people who are trying to do this, they would not have suffered all this pain. But they decided to defend them. They surrounded the Benjamites, chased them, and easily overran them in the vicinity of Gibeah and the east. 18,000 Benjamites fell, all of them valiant fighters. As they turned and fled towards the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon, the Israelites cut down 5,000 men along the roads. They kept pressing after Benjamites as far as Gidom and struck down 2,000 more. On that day, 25,000 Benjamite swordsmen fell, all of them valiant fighters. 25,000. But 600 of them turned and fled into the wilderness to the rock of Rimmon, where they stayed 4 months. The men of Israel went back to Benjamin and put all the town to the sword, including the animals and everything else they found. All the towns they came across, they set on fire. What kind of a loss is that they incurred? Even your animals, you lose. You would have given out those few men. You would have evaded this disaster. And you know, when they say everything else that they found there, they're talking even about their women and children. Imagine what kind of a disaster, because you're trying to protect evil. Don't try to defend evil. Don't. Because when the payment comes, you will not be able to bear it. It's too much. Don't defend evil. Okay. All the towns they came across, they set on fire. All right. So let's finish now, because let's see what will happen. One thing I want you to know is, remember, according to God's perfect plan, Israel should always be 12 tribes. But you see, God, even God himself was willing, he was about to get rid of a whole tribe because of evil. He was about to get rid of the whole tribe of Benjamin. Can you imagine that? When you read, even in the book of Revelation, it still talks about the 12 tribes of Israel. It talks about the 12 foundations in heaven. I'm telling you, if Benjamin was completely cut off, we would have been talking about the 11 tribes of Israel. God was willing to get rid of a whole tribe. And he was about to. Okay. Remember, we read in one of the scriptures where Jesus said, if your right eye offends you, cut it off. And I shared and I said that I'll show you that God himself was even willing to do that. He has a plan. But if evil was trying to interfere with that plan, he was about to cut off Benjamin. Benjamin was on his way out. So let's look at chapter 21. The men of Israel had taken an oath at Mizpah, not one of us will give his daughter in marriage to a Benjamite. Because you see, when they met and they called Benjamin and said, hey, bring out those people. Benjamin said, we won't. Men, the men, while they were sitting there, they said, we shall never give any of our daughters to the Benjamites. You see that? So that is very serious, because where shall they get women from then? And for that Israelite community to stay pure, or at least to stay is that the word I'll use? I'll use pure, but you know what I mean. It's like to just be Israelites, not to intermarry with outsiders. They have to get wives from within the tribes. But now these people have taken an oath. We won't give our daughters to any of the Benjamites. So look at this. The men of Israel had taken an oath at Mizpah. Not one of us will give his daughter in marriage to a Benjamite. Verse 2, the people went to Bethel, where they sat before God until evening, raising their voices and weeping bitterly. Lord, God of Israel, they cried, why has this happened to Israel? Why should one tribe be missing from Israel today? So you see, this is a concern to them, even to the people of Israel. They are concerned that a tribe is about to disappear. Verse 4, early the next day, the people built an altar and presented burnt offerings and fellowship offerings. Then the Israelites asked, who from all the tribes of Israel has failed to assemble before the Lord? For they had taken a solemn oath that anyone who failed to assemble before the Lord at Mizpah was to be put to death. Because remember, when the Levite cut the body parts and sent each one to a part of Israel, they called for a meeting. And when everybody gathered, they said, whoever is not here, we shall put to death. Okay. Now look at verse 6. Now, the Israelites grieved for the tribe of Benjamin, their fellow Israelites. Today, one tribe is cut off from Israel. They said, how can we provide wives for those who are left, since we have taken an oath by the Lord not to give them any of our daughters in marriage? Come, yeah. I'm almost done. It's only a few minutes. Yeah, you can. Okay. So, so look at this situation they're in. They have promised, they've taken an oath before the Lord. We won't give our daughters to Benjamin. So now they are crying to God because okay, we have taken an oath before you. We won't give our daughters to Benjamin. And the Benjamites don't, you see now, you see how you know that they even killed their wives and kids because they don't have any women. The ones that are left, they don't have any women. So where are they? They were killed. The kids killed, animals killed. Anything and everything that belonged to Benjamin was destroyed. Only the few men from the tribe of from Benjamin are alive. Okay, so let me go a little faster so we finish. So then they asked, which one of the tribe of Israel failed to assemble before the Lord at Mizpah? They discovered that no one from Jabesh Gilead had come to the camp for the assembly. For when they counted the people, they found that none of the people of Jabesh Gilead were there. So they assembled, sent 12,000 fighting men with instructions to go to Jabesh Gilead and put to the sword those living there, including the women and children. This is what you are to do. They said, kill every male and every woman who is not a virgin. They found among the people living in Jabesh Gilead 400 young women who had never slept with a man, and they took them to the camp at Shihol in Canaan. Then the whole assembly sent an offer of peace to the Benjamites at the rock of Rimmon. So the Benjamites returned at the time and were given the women of Jabesh Gilead who had been spared, but there were not enough for all of them. So you see, so the Benjamites, there's only a few who are okay. The Benjamites who are left, they don't have women to marry. So the guys are now thinking, how do we get these people women? So first of all, they find out the tribe that was missing, the people who didn't show up for the meeting at the beginning, and they found the people of Jabesh Gilead, and they had also taken an oath: whoever was not there at the meeting, kill them. So they went and killed them, but they spare their virgins. But there were only 400 of them. So they give them to the people of Benjamin. They don't have enough. So look at what happens. But there was not enough for all of them. Verse 15, the people grieved for Benjamin because the Lord had made a gap in the tribes of Israel. And the elders of the assembly said, with the women of Benjamin destroyed, how shall we provide wives for the men who are left? You see, with the women of Benjamin destroyed, so they were killed. The Benjamite survivors must have heirs, they said, so that a tribe of Israel will not be wiped out. We can't give them our daughters as wives, since we, Israel, have taken this oath. Cursed be anyone who gives a wife to a Benjamite. So this was the oath they took. They said, if you give your daughter, if you give a Benjamite a wife, you are cursed. And they knew this oath they've taken is effective. If you did it, even in secret, you'd be cursed. So they're really trying to find a way to provide women for them. Okay. So the Benjamite survivors must have heirs, they said, so that a tribe of Israel will not be wiped out. We can't give them our daughters wives. We can't give them our daughters as wives. Since Israel has taken an oath, this is the oath: cursed be anyone who gives a wife to a Benjamite. But look, there is an annual festival of the Lord in Shiloh, which lies north of Bethel, east of the road that goes from Bethel to Shechem, and south of Lebanon. So they instructed the Benjamites, saying, go and hide in the vineyards. Now listen, these are the Israelites advising the Benjamites who have survived. There is a dance, an annual dance, where young girls go there to, shake, to dance, whichever style, So they go there annually, once in a year. So the Israelites advise the Benjamites. They say, go there, So they instructed the Benjamites, saying, go and hide in the vineyards and watch. When the young women of Shiloh come out to join in the dancing, rush from the vineyards, and each of you seize one of them to be your wife. Then return to the land of Benjamin. When their fathers or brothers complain to us, we will say to them, do us the favor of helping them, because we did not get wives for them during the war. You will not be guilty of breaking your oath because you did not give your daughter to them. did you get that? Listen, they have taken an oath. Don't give your daughter. If you give your daughter, you are cursed. Okay. Now, these daughters will be going to dance at a dance they always have every year. When they go to dance, the Israelites have told the Benjamites, when the girls go in the field to dance, watch them, grab a woman for you, run to your place in Benjamin. When the brothers and the fathers come to complain, we'll tell them, don't worry about it. You didn't give them to the Benjamites, but just do us this favor. Let them have them. So, verse 23. So that is what the Benjamites did. While the young women were dancing, each man caught one and carried her off to be his wife. Then they returned to their inheritance and built the towns and settled in them. At that time, the Israelites left that place and went home to their tribes and clans, each to his own inheritance. In those days, Israel had no king. Everyone did as they saw fit. You know, I believe Benjamin learned their lesson, and anything like that, I doubt would have been entertained again. If any kind of evil of such that took place would have tried to raise its head again, I bet the Benjamites would have been very, 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 very tough on it. So that is the story for today. And then tomorrow, I think I'll select another story. Or maybe also we can do this. If you have a story that you like in the Bible that you know, that you think we need to go through, we should. So like I said, for those who joined us later, we won't start the book of John. That was what we were supposed to do today. But instead, we'll start it on the 2nd of January. 2nd of January is when we'll start the book of John, because that is where we are. So before we cross over, we'll just go through some stories, I think, or maybe even I'm even thinking of there is a chapter in the book of Psalms that I'd like for us to go through. I think it's a very interesting one. I love it. Many times I use it whenever I'm talking to people to encourage them. So thank you very much, everyone. Yeah, I'm telling them bye. My daughter is like, okay, it's time. That's enough.
You helped me, Kevin, on that. I texted.
Yeah, it's enough. Okay. Yeah, say that again. I didn't hear what you said. Oh, okay. I understand what you're saying. I think I get what you're saying. I think I get what you're saying. Why are you disturbing me? Oh, why are you disturbing me? You tell me. No. No, good job.